Indian brands or international brands, that is what excites us, because we know that we are making an impact on the larger ecosystem also. There is no gap in aspiration, but access, there is a lot of gap even today.
Women CEOs bring far more perspective and lens and ability to see when they enter.
You started from global, a runway, then a celebrity would wear it or movie star will wear it. But now what is happening is that you go on social media and you see very local influencer who looks just like me, who's probably in my neighborhood, is wearing something, carrying it off in a certain way. That also bridges a little bit of the fear that you have to adopt that fashion. It's important to be a good role model.
We don't have many women CEOs heading such large entities. And it's a big moment, not just for you and the work that you've done, but also for us as a country.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
There were two big things in my mind, actually three things in my mind at that time. One was about just a sense of just pausing in my own journey and saying, okay, fine, I think I've really enjoyed my journey till now. And now this seems to be a brand which I love and everyone loves. And then how do I get to helm it? And the second was really the pause to understand what everyone else has meant for me in this journey. So whether it's my family, my colleagues, mentors, teams I have worked with, I stand on their shoulders. And I think then the third thought after some time was that it doesn't only mean something for me, it means something for how we all need more role models.
Yes.
I think it's not about the one role model, but you need so many role models, because that's how you really create prototypes of what you could be. Like, no, everybody doesn't want to be me, or everybody may not want to be you, but if they have 5 more women, then they can choose what is the path that they want to take, who do they identify with. So I think we need more role models. And I think that after I took a little bit pause from my own journey, I think that that enormity of it kind of I was able to absorb that, and it is a driving force in what I do, that I want to be a good role model.
I want to understand from you the Myntra's 18 years journey.
I think, like you said, I think at the very beginning, if you go back, rewind back 18 years, and all of us have been around in the ecosystem for around about that time, I think the biggest question mark everybody had was that how can fashion actually be bought online? I think that was the first question that everybody had. There is I want to actually try things. I want to see how it fits on me. India, even today, like 60% of the fashion market is unbranded, and 18 years back, even more so. So there are no brands which are signaling quality beyond a point. So there is a quality problem, there is a try problem, there is a return, like how do I get over this perspective that if I don't like it, what do I do with this product? So I think Myntra really actually, created this platform where I think at the heart of it, there are two things. One is that you can buy fashion without a compromise. So you are not actually making a trade-off. I think that's one very big thing that got enabled through Myntra. So you don't have to trade off the selection that you want to buy. You don't have to trade off the service at which you will get it. You don't have to trade off that if you don't like it, how do you kind of deal with that situation? And finally, being enabled by technology. So I think these are the two things that if I look at the journey of Myntra, they have been at the constant. I think the magic factor or the X factor that Myntra brought, and again, in my journey, I've realized it and we've built on it as we go forward, is that, e-commerce is about, like any e-commerce, is about selection, service, and value. But fashion e-commerce has a fourth pillar of inspiration. So you cannot be a fashion player without providing that inspiration to customers and users and people who want to kind of access that fashion. So I think that is the third thing that Myntra really did in its journey and continues to do so, in providing a no compromise fashion shopping.
Yeah.
And second is inspiration, all of this backed by technology. So I think that in my mind is what Myntra changed in the ecosystem and has been at it for the last 18 years.
whenever you see, like, people used to come from Delhi and all that, and you see them wearing very nice salwar kurta or something.
Yeah.
So one didn't know where to buy.
Yeah.
Second, there was a fear that it's going to be very expensive. Today, when I go to Bihar, I went to Bhilai, I go to various pockets of Rajasthan, Guwahati, and you see young girls
Yeah.
wearing phenomenal dresses. And I think a platform like Myntra has played a huge role in enabling that.
No, 100%. I come from, like, I grew up in Lucknow. I studied in Banaras. So I have seen that era where you would actually wait for a few occasions where you could actually go and shop. There were a few shops either in Lucknow, or if someone's coming from Delhi, and you would wait for them to shop for you. And that completely has changed. Today, every girl in the country, or every person in the country, actually has access to fashion, which I think there is like, if we just look at I mean, you travel a lot, and therefore you will understand the length and breadth of the country, right? That there is no gap in aspiration. There is no gap in
bilkul nahi.
aspiration. But access, there is a lot of gap, even today. And that is what a platform like Myntra actually fulfills. So you're saying that, you have all of this aspiration, and Myntra as a platform is also adding on to it through whatever it does on the inspiration side. And then you also have this access to it, which comes to your home maybe in 2 days. And I think what is also happening in the last few years is that earlier the fashion dispersion was very, you started from global, a runway, then a celebrity would wear it, and then somebody you think is very fashionable would wear
Or
it,
movie stars.
or movie star will wear it. But now what is happening is that you go on social media and you see very local influencer who looks just like me, who's probably in my neighborhood, is wearing something, carrying it off in a certain way, is really very confident about it. And therefore that also bridges a little bit of the fear that you have to adopt that fashion. So I think everything, this digital access and the young country, and also I think we are at this moment where the country is confident. It's full of hope, and we can do a lot, and we can do anything that we want. And that is also reflecting in the fashion choices
Oh, yeah.
that people are making. And I would definitely say, like, if I look at my own journey as a fashion consumer, I don't think that I had access to what I have bought in the last few years if Myntra were not there, and even 10, 12 years back. So I think that is definitely a big change. Access to fashion, which is so universal, so democratic, and really is doing something deeper. It's not utilitarian. It really is about self-expression. Being yourself is what this really enables.
Oh, yeah. Myntra has had the first mover advantage, if I may say so. It's a brand, people relate to it. How does one retain that leadership? And especially now.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good question. And I think 3-4 years back, it wasn't as vibrant as what the market is today. And the first thing is that I think all competition is welcome, because it really is growing the market. So if you look at, like I said, branded market is only 40%, e-commerce, digitally, people, only 13% of fashion is bought digitally. So there is a huge opportunity. So one, I feel that it feels that there is a lot happening on the competitive landscape, but I think there is actually a lot happening on the opportunity landscape. So there is a lot to be done. And second, I think is it may feel a little repeated or trite or whatever, but actually focus on the customer, because your customer loves you. They don't really care about 5 other things which have come up unless they stop loving you.
Yeah.
So I think that is basically where you place a lot of your energy on, which is to say. And I think the third thing, which is again important from fashion perspective, and I honestly think the world of fashion is really changing right now, like even more than what had happened maybe 5 years back, is truly customers are becoming more trend first, especially the younger Gen Z customers.
We also.
Yeah, all of us, like all of us follow. I think the fashion is one thing where everybody follows what the youngsters
Or we will set the trend.
So they are very trend first, and
Yeah.
therefore, and not only are they trend first, if they see something 5 days ago on a social media platform, or a celebrity wearing it, or a global celebrity wearing it, they want it in the next 5 days.
Yes.
And that is really changing the ecosystem in a big way. New brands are coming up which are really getting into these white spaces and saying, how do I cater to this? So I think focusing on the customer, and actually being very aware that fashion is a very agile industry. Like, you never have only one trend. Like, it is a trend based industry. So you can't really bank on one thing working for you over and over again. And the third is technology. Technology is changing so fast that if you don't incorporate that into what you do to build at scale, it becomes very, very difficult. So I think these are the three things which have helped us keep ahead of competition, and constantly, I think, be at the center of the fact that customers love us.
When I go to Myntra, I see, to me, let me call out what's very good. It's very seamless. And the options, I go to look at salwar kurta, dupattas, muslin kurtas, white kurtas. So the selection, the search, the speed, everything is very good. And personally, among all the other platforms, the variety for me, that just to browse through, even if one is not buying, is quite massive. To do all that, which looks so smooth to a user, in the back end, I'm sure there'll be a lot of technology going on. So tell us about that, and how are you leveraging AI today to
No, I think you're right about the fact, and you've picked up the right things which we constantly engage and invest on, because we believe that is actually the backbone. So I think the experience of today, we have created a lot of choice in the ecosystem, right? Which is a good thing, but also consumers want to ultimately buy what they want to buy. So how do you really enable your platforms to enable wide selection, which is fashion first in its nature? I think that itself, is where the entire marketplace technology really comes into place. I think then the second part is about personalization. I think how do you really personalize on the back of what have been your purchase behaviors in the past? What is your gender? What is your stated age, or derived age from what you're doing? Even I would say that, as we have started going deeper into parts of the country and becoming more relevant there, we've realized that fashion, what a dress means in Bangalore, is very different from what it means in Nagpur. And therefore, how do you personalize to the fashion choices of that particular city? So I think personalization is actually very, very key to ensuring that while there is a vast selection at the back, you are seeing what probably is going to appeal to you as a consumer, basis your behavior, basis some of the signals that we get across your device, etc., the kind of device you're using. So I think that's personalization is one very big part of it. I think the other part which is important is how do you keep enhancing the ways of shopping. I think what we have, like 2019 2021 22 is when we launched social commerce, which is the first app in the country to really use social content on a commerce platform in a very native way. And that has been a great game changer in how actually there are consumers who are content first consumers, and they come on the app and they browse content which is in the form of mini videos, which is in the form of static images. But how do you really incorporate that in their shopping journey and then ultimately also personalize that? I think then it's about, love talking about one piece of technology which is very understated, because it's not probably it's not something that we've spoken about too much, is size and fit technology. So almost more than 50% of our volumes actually go through a size recommendation that the algorithm throws for you, because it either through your purchases or through your stated size, they will tell you what is a size in this brand that will fit you better. So you've taken away the size understanding cognitive overload that the customer has, given them a better experience of getting the product first time right, and helping the sellers with reducing returns, etc. So I think that how do you make it more seamless for the customer to buy is another big part of it.
Yeah.
And I think finally I would say that now that I'm looking, now we all are at the we will look at this moment and remember this moment as being at the cusp of AI kind of being a way of life, not just a new thing that is happening in our businesses. We started off by making fashion assistants, actually, like imagine a future where you had a personal assistant. Every consumer had a personal assistant for shopping fashion, and they could really tell you what you want to buy, what suits you, what are the brands you bought last time, therefore what you should try out, what's new which may suit you more. And we started on that journey with My Fashion GPT, where we said, okay, fine, at least let's go into a normal way of searching and say, you want to wear something for a wedding in Jaipur, what are the 4 or 5 ensembles you will suggest? Then we went into conversational commerce with Maya. And I think how do we take this journey with a view of saying, how do we make shopping very, very personal? for each consumer in a very native way, because I think that's either consumers will shop through video and content, or they will shop through how we talk every day. If I take the seller side of the view, I think imagine again a world where you had a personal key account manager 24/7 available to you to solve all the problems, to help you with growth, etc. So I think there are so many ways in which AI will, on the customer side again, like how do I solve all of your problems maybe before even you encounter them. So I think we need to really think big at this point in time to design experiences for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, to leverage AI in a manner which enables us and maximizes our potential.
What are some of the macro trends that you're seeing when it comes to fashion?
I think what is important for us to realize is that we are going deeper into the country, and that part of the country, like, it is actually not T2 T3 anymore. Like every part of the country has aspirations which are mirroring their metro cousins in a sense. So I think that's the first part. But having said that, there is still a lot of diversity, and a lot of that diversity is actually cultural in nature. And what like I'll talk about two or three things which have really shaped how fashion is being shaped in all of these geographies and these customers. I think the first thing is that India, or celebrating your Indianness, is becoming very, very cool actually. So every celebration, every festival is being celebrated with a lot of joy and a lot of festivity and a lot of mixing of old and new traditions. And fashion has always been, for India, has always been, every festival you will buy new clothes, every festival has a certain fashion sensibility that it brings in, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that is something which is actually not decreasing, but in fact, I would say over the last 5 to 7 years has increased manifold.
Yeah.
The other thing which has happened is that as people have moved across cities and all of that, these celebrations have actually become pan-India. Like everyone in Bangalore will celebrate all festivals, everyone in Delhi will celebrate all festivals, and therefore that cultural moment has actually, I would say, is a big thing which really has helped fashion and brands and platforms like ourselves tap into the consumer's life. Second, weddings continue to be like a big so while we are talking of the in India maybe which is in Bhilai or Bhagalpur or whatever, but these are things which are universal. So weddings and how the scale at people are celebrating weddings, they are no longer just ceremonies. So that is another thing which is really fueling fashion in a certain sense. The third thing is
Karwa
that
Chauth has become a big
such a big thing,
phenomenon.
right? And I think the third thing is that consumers are actually choosing a mix of old and new, west and east, and there are so many brands which are tapping into this. So I think, and what has happened as of late is there are many cultural moments that are created. So whether it's IPL, whether it's concerts, whether it's a film, so there are, I think what I'm trying to say is that it is becoming a
365 days of something
a
or
bit
the
of
other.
opportunity to bring new fashion to the country, to the consumers. And that is the opportunity, I would say, that as brands and as platforms we have to tap into, sellers we have to tap into, because if we believe that fashion is only like 3 time buying in a year or 4 time buying in a year, I think that has completely changed.
Yeah.
So the reason
You can take credit for that also. Like, yeah, because Myntra enabled that also.
And it is 100% sure that, platforms like Myntra has enabled that opportunity to make fashion. There are many occasions to buy fashion versus the 3 occasions that were traditionally there. And I think we brands have to get onto this bandwagon, because people are searching for the Karwa Chauth sari. They are searching for the Coldplay concert or the Diljit concert or Chhat puja, whatever is the, not just the clothes but everything around it also.
Yes.
So if you don't tap into it, I think you will find more opportunities lost than gained.
As a CEO, what are some of the challenges that you think about or things that concern you now in this role?
I think not challenges, but I think, like, as you see the market, I think the point that you made in the beginning, or the point that we made in the last discussion, was that it is ever evolving. And I think the day you think you've got it and you've got the formula pat down is where you will stop evolving, you will stop innovating. So I think that is the biggest thing which really keeps me awake, that while we know what we are doing it well, it's working like clockwork, but there are so many more new things to be done. and how do we keep that momentum in the organization alive to drive that. I think how do you build a team, how do you build a culture which is able to pick up new things and drive them and take risks around it. Again, I would say using technology, like we are a tech first firm, so how do we constantly be at the leading edge of it, in terms of driving fashion inspiration and shopping. And I think just the thought that you need to be ahead of the curve than behind the curve. I think the fashion curve changes very fast, and therefore, as a platform, you need to be ahead of the curve. So I think that those are the things which are top of mind. Again, I think the opportunity, you have consumers, their idea of fashion and lifestyle is changing. So it's not limited today to um, you know uh, to only fashion or only clothes, like whether it's sneakers or footwear or jewelry, beauty, even home, everything is a reflection of who you are as a person, and that is fashion for them. So how do you expand into these domains? And I think what really excites me is I think we are also in the era of brand creation in the country. Like we have lesser brands versus the consumption that we have, and the role that we play in enabling the brands, whether they are Indian brands or international brands, that is what excites us, because we know that we are making an impact on the larger ecosystem also.
That for brands today, don't you think it's becoming more difficult to stand out as a brand and build that kind of customer loyalty?
See, we also look at the world from the view of seeing that what is really succeeding. And while it is difficult, because like there are so many white spaces that are available, and you have so many customer cohorts that are there. So there is a Gen Z customer, there is a millennial customer, there is a customer who wants to buy for a certain occasion or a certain type of fashion. So the if you break out the niches in India, they're actually quite big, and each brand is catering to some of those niches. Now I think, how do you really build yourself, how do you stand out, how is the, like, ultimately the brand and the product and the value proposition of the brand will win. And honestly, from where I see it, I would say there is more competition for brands, like there is more competition for platforms, but the good ones consistently win on the basic formula of being culturally relevant, being functionally relevant, and then giving good product and good customer value proposition. So I think that formula doesn't change. Brands are evolving, like how they do marketing, how they do product development. I think the time that used to take for product development, which was 9 months, mind to market, we call that in our industry, that a lot of brands, even big ones, have shrunk it down to 3 months, 4 months, to really ensure that they constantly are keeping up with what's happening in the fashion world. So the good ones continue to win on the basics, at least from where, our vantage point. Of course, there is more competition, and the consumers are wanting that variety, and therefore there is competition.
So it also means that there is a lot of opportunity for new brands to come.
There is, I don't think we are currently at a place where all white spaces have been filled with at scale players. And again, I would say that, fashion wardrobes are rarely very uniform. Like for special, like it earlier used to be for women, but now even for men, we are seeing the data that it's not like you will only buy one brand. You're going to buy so many things, so many brands, different occasions. So you have an opportunity to reach out to the customer in many ways.
What's the trend you're seeing when it comes
I
to
think
men's?
last 3 years, I would say the sneaker culture, right? Like if you walk into any office, you will see sneakers being worn in any formal setting, which was earlier not the case, and people collecting sneakers. Really, the high heat drops, from the various big global brands. So that has been like a continuing culture, and of course, that is something which is really there. I think the other thing which I feel is that the younger consumers, both the entire Gen Z population, again, they want to adopt global trends. So they see something that globally is happening, then they see their local influencers also doing the same thing. So things like oversized t-shirts, back graphics, graphic t-shirts, cargos, quad sets, vacation. So men's fashion, I would actually say, is having its moment, because you are moving away from very functional fashion to very fashion which is meant for occasion, fashion which has a certain trend relevance, aesthetic relevance, etc. So we are seeing a lot of that happen.
Do you see women driving men to fashion or
No.
men themselves
No,
are
no,
driving?
themselves. I think, like, at least the way that we look at the data, I think that's the thing about fashion. Fashion has become from only being a social, socially acceptable, socially relevant, to being relevant for me and myself and how I express myself. So that's definitely happening. I think from other perspectives, like if you look at watches, for example, again, I think this is something which is really, really growing right now. People are back to wearing watches not just as a functional accessory but as a fashion accessory. So I think this ethnic wear in men, again, I think that is something which is really, really picking up. So everything that you see happen in the women's world, in some way it is actually reflecting in what's happening
It's
in
an
the
expression of individuality.
exactly. So it is not restricted to, oh, this is acceptable, like if I have to go to office I have to wear this particular kind of
So we'll see
outfit.
fashionable men now on the
So we
street.
always had fashionable men. I will not say that.
I think women are more fashionable.
I think there is a lot of varied expression
Yeah.
of that fashion that is happening, and we see that in the trend. So yeah.
तो इंडिया बदल रहा है because our parents' generation, I couldn't see men with any fashion. But this generation and what you're saying, Gen Z and all, you can really see that individuality. Which city is consuming fashion most?
Size of the market may be larger in Delhi, but I
Yeah.
would say that I would actually say that you would be surprised with how small, like the east of the country is really driving a lot of. Actually, I would say, where we are trying to, if you look at whether it's the northeast or even Calcutta, Bengal, cities in Bengal and Bihar, the growth that you're seeing over there, and also the growth in fashion, like when you look at search terms, etc., you see that there is a spike in very high trend, new to
Interesting.
market fashion over there. So I would say that actually tier 2, tier 3 cities, the east of the country, they are really driving a lot of, and also a lot of towns where we see, and when we go deeper into the data and trying to understand the patterns, right, there are towns which are very student population or young jobber heavy. So whether it's in Indore or a Dehradun, you see a lot of spikes there. Cities like Lucknow, Jaipur, they continue to do very well. Hyderabad, Pune. So I think it's really very interesting to see how each of the city like cluster behaves differently. So of course, the young like student population towns behave slightly differently. East will behave differently. Towns like Lucknow and Jaipur, which are growing, they behave differently. So I think that's,
You can come up with a list of
yeah,
top 10 fashionable
yeah,
cities
we
of
can,
India.
we can do a competition of that.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Women CEOs bring far more perspective and lens and ability to see when they enter. Like, just an example, if they enter a room, they can see 50 things vis-a-vis just 2 or 3. What do you think you see differently and you've seen differently?
I don't know whether, I mean, I'm sure that there is a difference between how men, perceive some things versus women. But I think from my perspective, as an individual, and parts of it are who you are, and your training and your background, comes into the mix when you see
Yes.
that. I think ability to really look at India in the length and breadth of it, because you're not only restricting yourself to what you are consuming, or where you are, and the your immediate circle, not 100% only influenced by that, but really looking at what's happening, like having a very deep observation and insight about how our consumers really evolving, and what does that mean for your business model, what does that mean for your supply chain, what does that mean for your technology innovations, right? So I think that ability to connect those two things. So how does a consumer think? Like, I think for me, I can say that as an individual, I'm a very consumer first person. So I think who is that consumer, and what is she, hopefully, like being in touch with what her desires are and his desires are, and then how are they evolving, and then kind of and it has implications on your business model, on your supply chain, on your on your innovation and technology, on how you build your team actually. So I think connecting that is probably where I would say that I am able to connect those dots. I think being resilient is the other thing. I think we you have a task ahead of you and you go ahead with it, and in a manner which takes people along. So I think that's the other thing. Like, while you have to do things, you have to build innovation, you have to build the right team, you have to set the right standards for the team, but you also ultimately have to take them along. And I think that is what reflects in how we think of our purpose, we think of our, of what is our employee value proposition, because ultimately people are doing all of this. Our teams are doing this job day in and day out. So whether it's our magic values, right? Like, we've had them for the last, I would think, 18 years, but yeah, for forever, which is about make it happen, aim high, great together, you know, in integrity and inclusion, and then customer first. So this has been at the center of what we do. But how do you make that come alive every day is part of what I do. How do you make your purpose come alive, which is to inspire self-expression by making fashion possibilities available for everyone in India, right? So how do you kind of build that vision and make that happen together? So I think really tapping into what you stand for, and tapping into it through the team that you build and the culture that you build, connecting the dots. And I think really bringing technology, business, consumer, the ecosystem together is probably how I would say that I see things, or I believe that, this is what has helped me in the last 3.5 years.
If you had to look back at your journey as a leader, what would you say to you like 10 years back that, listen, this I should have done differently?
Actually, I feel that what I think has, at least in my head, has worked for me is that I believe that I believe the choices that I make, I have made them work for myself, or I find something positive that if this thing, and I'll give an example, like I joined Unilever from campus. I loved, being a marketeer there, because that's, the school of marketing. And then I was a moving spouse at that time. So my husband was here, and I came to Bangalore, and I left something which I really loved. But then I joined Britannia, which I loved even more, for a different reason, because it was an organization which gave you a lot of opportunity to do different things because of the size and scale versus a Unilever. So you did 5 things which otherwise may have taken you 3 stints to do in Unilever. And then because I was in Bangalore, I got bit by the startup bug, and I started an e-commerce company for myself. And of course, it was the e-commerce 1.0, and as I was doing that, I realized, but e-commerce is about scale, and therefore I want scale. And then that's when I joined Flipkart. So I feel I made choices, or choices were sometimes made for me, but I think that all of those worked out.
You made it work out also.
So I look at it very like, had this choice not happened, I would have never gotten some opportunity.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happens next, but till now, I feel I look at every part of the journey and feel that this happened for a reason. That moment was trying to teach me something, and I really got something out of it. So
It's beautiful what
yeah.
you're saying. If you could share what's in store for Myntra in the coming 1 or 2 years.
I think the biggest thing, and I read this recently, someone talk about it, that, if you look at the last few years, everybody was talking of uh, moving away from demographics being the center point of how you build businesses. You were talking of psychographics, etc., being like, or uh, of who the consumer is, right? But I think right now, again, we are at that moment where Gen Z as a consumer group is going to be the center point of all of the industries that we are a part of, and they behave very differently. So they are very unafraid. The way they browse, the way they are digitally native consumers, so the way they look at every opportunity and every consumption opportunity is very different from their millennial counterparts. So I think that itself is a very, very big opportunity that we are going after. We've built Forward, which is a platform within Myntra to cater to the Gen Z consumers. And there we are enabling selection, we are enabling experiences, we are enabling ways of buying which are very unique for the Gen Z consumer, and also reaching out to them in a very unique way, letting go of both, again, right from the supply chain of how we are building it, or how we are helping the brands build it, to the platform which is technology enabled, and to the way we reach out to the consumers is very different. So this is, we are almost now at 20 million Gen Z consumers who are transacting with us on a yearly basis, which was maybe 8 million a year back. So
Wow.
that has kind
That's
of been
huge.
yeah, that has been a great growth story for us in the last few quarters, and we are constantly going to innovate and really grow that part of the business. I think the second thing is that Myntra has always been started its journey by having more weight in the tier 1 and metro cities, but now we see the opportunity of really going deeper down into the tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities also. I think, how do we again, I think, leverage technology to personalize deeply, to help these consumers get products faster than what they would otherwise get, to enable brands which are locally relevant for these consumers. I think, one very interesting thing again is that we activated regional influencers for these cities, and we realized that they did better than any other campaign that we had done. And I think suddenly it unlocked the power of what we could do just by localizing more, personalizing more for these cities, while giving them access to everything that is global and national. Then I think it is really about going deeper into the shopping occasions or the lifestyle occasions of the consumer. We've been growing the beauty market at 2x the rate of what the rest of the market has been growing, and this is a market which will continue to explode in the next few years. Consumers trust Myntra as a platform. They really they are happy to explore beauty because they believe this is my trusted platform. So how do you go and expand into further into, because beauty, again, like I keep telling people that when I was growing up, or even 15 years back, India was a kajal and lipstick market. So those were the only two beauty products you sold. But now that two has gone to five. So it's a growing market, has a lot of potential for online penetration. So how do you kind of go deep there? Home is another market where there is this whole, like you said, that you buy the good design kurta. There is that curation, selection, quality layer that you can actually build in home. So that's another focus area for us. Um, we've just started M Now in Bangalore, which is like a 30 to 60-minute delivery for fashion.
Oh.
December we started.
I'm not Gen Z, so you can forgive me. I'm going to order right now something.
No, but I think
so I'll get it in 30 to 60
30 to 60 minutes. Yeah. So I think that is another thing, because I do feel that consumers are
want it now.
I think the speed equation is being redefined in the ecosystem. So you have to. It's like saying that if I watch a 2-hour film on Netflix or I watch a 30-second short video, I need the same. My expectations of quality are the same. So I think
commerce.
Yeah. So I think that's what we are doing. So that is something we will double down on. And I think making AI a way of life rather than it being something which is a tick mark on how we do things, or leveraging, I think, is the wrong word. This is again the moment of how do you become natively more generative AI than leveraging it. I think those are the 4 or 5 things. As an org of this size, especially when you have had 18 years, I think focusing on culture, team will constantly be the priority for us. Yeah.
What gets you to wake up excitedly every day? Or non-excitedly also?
I mean, I was telling someone that maybe I'm very naive, but like and especially I think since I've joined Flipkart and e-commerce and now Myntra, there are very few days that I'm not excited about what I do. So I think, and it's been 13 years now in this ecosystem, so it's a long time. But I think I always look at it as unsolved problems. So there are so many unsolved problems. Even today, if you look at, again, access into a certain, town class, or how do you make fashion shopping even more seamless for the consumer? All of these are very, very unsolved problems, right? How do you get brands into the country? How do you build the smaller brand ecosystem? So these are all unsolved problems, and that is really what keeps me excited. I think there are so many untapped opportunities for us as an ecosystem for Myntra that so it's not it's yeah.
So every day is a day.
Yeah,
Wake
yeah,
up and
yeah,
let's
yeah.
just do it.
And also I think the team that you work with, right? I mean, you you feel energized by the team around you also.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two things which really
I just can
keep
imagine
you,
in your
yeah.
office it must be all
Yeah, it's a
fashion
very
and
very vibrant,
ah,
multi-generational work. Like, so we have 1/3 employees are Gen Z, and you have Gen X, and you have millennials. So it's a very good mix of different uh, kinds of folks, and I think, again, at the when you have a multi-generational workforce, you focus on what's important to each of them from from a well-being perspective. So whether it's sports, so I think we are the first company to have a pickleball court in our office, or it is about, health as a focus area for us, helping our employees have access to best physical and mental health. So I think it's being vibrant and then doing what you can for the well-being of the teams that you work with.
what's exciting for you as an Indian?
The one thing that really excites me is the fact that India is probably the only country outside of maybe China which has such a big consumption as well as production ecosystem. So you have consumers as well as a production ecosystem, and that actually opens up so many possibilities for us as both e-commerce, as an ecosystem for fashion, etc. How do you build brands from India which are not just about, they're not just big brands in India, but they're global brands. I think
Yeah.
that's the other journey that I'm sure we will make in the next few years, as you see a lot of homegrown brands kind of grow. So I think if I just take that theme, I think there are so many, like if you take every part of life, you will see so many stories from India which are going to emerge, which are going to be India first innovation, India first. There was this podcast on IPL. I don't know if you heard the Acquired podcast, where they do global companies, and I think this is the first Indian entity that they covered was IPL, to say how was the business model built, what really happened. So I think those stories from India will emerge, and I think just if you look around and the opportunity for really everyone growing in this country, like how do we create more opportunities, how do we create more jobs, how do we build that inspiration and aspiration for Indians. So I think for me that's what excites me.
Yeah.
The possibilities are immense. We're just starting in our journey.
Women in the C-suite are very less. We've talked about it. As a CEO, to succeed, to create this kind of impact that you are creating, what are some of the things to look at? What are some of the things to do? And if you had to tell the young girls in Lucknow, where you come from, or me, I come from Patna, girls who will be listening and watching us, what would you like to say?
I think, I mean, of course, I would want to say that I had the privilege of growing up in a family where, while I stayed in a small town, but the aspirations and the inspiration was always that you have to reach out and maximize your potential, and nothing is impossible for you. So in fact, like, my parents were very very clear that I had to kind of reach out for whatever would be my maximum potential. And I think that's my first advice, which is that never underestimate yourself. Your origin, or where you come, or whatever seems to be maybe your limitation, actually is not a limitation.
Very powerful thing I want
Yeah.
to add to parents: never underestimate your daughters also.
So I think so that, like, whatever may be your limitation is actually not your limitation. It could actually end up being a strength in some way. So don't first of all think of anything as your limitation. I think just I feel women always chase perfection versus progress. So I think the one thing that I would say, that any stage of your life, chase progress, don't chase perfection, because no one's perfect, but we all get into that perfection trap and then prevent ourselves from doing things which we could do because we don't think we are perfect. I think coming to being like a leader, and when you're leading big teams, big organizations, again, tap into your strength. I think it's very easy to feel, overwhelmed by the differences that you see and things that you believe you don't have. First of all, if you have reached a certain place in your leadership journey, you need to believe that you have earned that seat at the table. So you don't have to constantly keep second guessing yourself and every day wake up in the morning and think that, oh, now again today I have to go and prove that I have a seat at the table. So I think you've already earned it. You have gotten it because of what you've done till now, and you now need to kind of embrace your strengths, So I would say that is where I would, the for women, I would say that is the advice I would give. And I think just um, I'm actually, I think just being courageous, being bold, not being afraid, and at some level also drowning out the noise around you. I think there is just too much noise about, sometimes, and I'll again be honest, there could be noise about how do you show up at work, how do you show up at home, how do you balance the two, but these are all your personal choices, and the people around you, they are the ones who are making those choices with you. So I think not getting worried by how does the external world perceive me as either a leader or a person in my own private space. It is nobody's, it's
Yeah.
not my business to care about what they think.
Yeah.
So I think just,
Very powerful. Yeah.
not caring about that. I think there is no substitute. I think that is the other thing for hard work. Like, I think you need to constantly be curious. I think it's about that curiosity, and maybe that is a strength that you bring to the table, that you want to be curious about everything that's happening around you, and you want to learn every day. So I think just putting in those, that showing up every day with curiosity, a mindset to learn, and this courage, and maybe like a little bit of naive courage to say, I will do it. Like, I'll do it. We'll see what happens, but I'll do it. So I would say those are the things that are there, yeah.
Yeah, no. And that's where we get to have someone like you. Yeah.
Thank you. Or like yourself, I would say that you've
no.
been
We have to
very,
encourage.
very, like, I'm sure there are so many women who are looking to set up something which is their passion, and then build such a powerful business out of it.
For all the brands, D2C brands and all the brands, apparels, beauty, fashion, all lifestyle, if they have to associate with Myntra, if they have to be super brands, big brands, how can Myntra help them? Just take us through
So
that.
we launched Myntra Rising Stars 2.5 years back, and we have almost 1,300 brands which are part of the program. And these brands are young, upcoming brands who are great at storytelling, great at building products for the consumers. But how do you really scale on a platform that is relevant for you as a lifestyle brand? Is what Myntra Rising Stars provides. So it provides you the opportunity to have the right support in terms of what do you need to grow on the platform, what are the insights that you need to get, what is the kind of like, how do you build for speed on the platform, how do you build for certain use cases that your brand might fit into for the platform, how do you build visibility, or how do you do advertising on the platform. I think that program has been super successful. That I think over
It's
the
called
last
Myntra
Myntra Rising Stars.
So people can go
Go
online and apply.
and they can apply for it. And I think we have seen like almost a last 2.5 years, almost a 50% growth, CAGR of 50 to 60% growth on that program.
Wow.
So all of these brands are actually seeing scale, which is built by creating that consumer, loyalty that is there. I think for me, that is probably the way that I would say that for a brand to really build scale on a relevant lifestyle platform like Myntra, this is where we envisage this program, and I'm really, really proud of what we've been able to do. This Women's Day, we launched 2 programs, where one is around really creating a program for women sellers called Min Shakti, where they register on the program and they kind of get the opportunity to grow their brands. And one for the larger ecosystem, which is called She Commerce, where you just register, and the attempt is to really getting people together from the e-commerce world and helping women entrepreneurs learn about what can be done to build businesses. So that's what we do for all of the young and upcoming brands, which is probably the way that we build these brands in the country, and contribute in that journey.
Nandita, thank you so much. This was brilliant. Loved it, and very, very proud of you. May you continue to spread fashion across India.